Wanted to get into this. Ryan Kerrigan addressed the media yesterday. Devontae Smith addressed the media yesterday. Jalen Hurts, I believe, as well. Jalen Reagor addressed the media yesterday. And this was all during minicamp. His workouts were going on the field yesterday. It was a heartwarming moment just to watch Devontae Smith catch passes from Jalen Hurts. To see them on the field yesterday at the same time, to see even just the quarterbacks go through their tandem drills with Jalen Hurts and even Joe Flacco dropping back, it made you feel like, man, football's just around the corner. I mean, it's May 26th, people. June, late July, we're going to start talking about training camp. We're going to start talking about preseason football, your roster battles in the 3 preseason games. Like that, it's right around the corner. It got me feeling like it's almost here. And I'm not all out. And I hope I have conveyed this to you. I am not having a negative approach to this season. I am going to have a real approach to this season, and I believe the real approach to this Eagles season comes down to the idea that it all depends on Jalen Hurts, and if you think Jalen Hurts can play or not. I don't think this is going to be some abysmal, god-awful rebuild year. You heard from Jason Kelsey already. You've heard from Lane Johnson already. You've heard from a lot of veterans on this. Brandon Graham being another one. You've heard from those veterans talk about how this season isn't going to be a wash. This season isn't going to be a guess and test. Although that might be what it feels like when you've been linked to Deshaun Watson, you've been linked to at least kick the tires on Aaron Rodgers and some other quarterbacks. But it just feels like you're rumored to maybe move up in the draft. You ended up not doing that. It feels like right now the Eagles are just saying, all right, Jalen Hurts, this is your prove-it year, right? This is your guess and test, if you will. I'm not just going to go into the season and think it's a wash or that the Eagles are going to have some terrible year. It all depends on Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts can play well and mask other things that might be wrong with the secondary, not having a corner to play on the outside, opposite Darius Slay, having the newcomers like Harris try to fit in here in a new defensive scheme, whatever it might be, if Jalen Hurts can distribute the football well, almost be a facilitator in the football world, get it to Miles Sanders, get it to Dallas Goedert, get it to Zach Ertz if he's still here, get it to your wide receivers. If he can, and the offensive line stays healthy, then I think this Eagles team's going to have a pretty good year. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. One thing, I won't go into this season just thinking that because it's a new quarterback, because it's a young quarterback, because it's a first-year head coach, that this team can't do anything. And I hate to draw it back to last year or bring it back to last year, but the Eagles had the advantage, so to speak, when it came to the head coach. They had the same head coach in a COVID year, in the craziness that was last year, and it ended up doing nothing for them. No advantage over the rest of the NFC East in the just awful year it was all around in the NFC East. So maybe this is exactly what you want to hear or you want to see from the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe this is what you want to see from a coaching staff that's just taking over and trying to get their own feet under them. And I'll say this. I talk a lot about Doc Rivers gushing over Ben Simmons and how it doesn't seem fake because it's so over the top. Like, it's not just, Ben's great. It's the description that he always gives, the love, the adulation, right? Well, listening to Jalen Reagor address the media yesterday, he talked about Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff and why they always explain, and how they always explain the why when giving instruction. If they're talking about running routes, if they're talking about a play design, if they're talking about why somebody is lined up where they are during a play, they always provide the why. It's not just a matter of because I said so type of thing. And I'm not saying that was some kind of iron fist, because I think if anybody knows anything about Doug Peterson, that wasn't his style of coaching. But I think it really helps a player when they have that explained to them. The person that's the exact opposite of that is Chip Kelly. If you remember, Chip Kelly was never stopping practices to correct mistakes. They would correct it in the film room later, which to me, these are football players. Most of these guys are going to learn by doing before they learn from just like reading it off a page. They got to go through the motions. And if they're going through the motions improperly, they need to be set right. And they need to be corrected on the field so they can then go through the motions correctly. Well, Jalen Reagor got into that yesterday when he was addressing the media, and he talked about how Nick Sirianni and his staff and Shane Steichen will stop them and say, hey, this is why we're doing this. Just so they have a better approach, a better understanding as to why they're running the route the way they are, why they're lined up in the spot they are during a particular play, why the quarterback's progressions are what they are. That, to me, that is the perfect example of coaching. And I know we've had a lot of fun. We'll continue to have a lot of fun with Nick Sirianni. But if this guy can just flat out coach, the Eagles are going to be in good hands. Just flat out coach. Doesn't have to be great, but just knows how to communicate with his players. And that's the one thing you can always go back to with Doug Peterson. The man did know how to communicate with his players. If there was an issue, he knew to consult his player council and all that stuff. He knew how to coach players. If Nick Sirianni can just come out and coach and earn the respect of these players right out of the gate, just by being a good coach, just by knowing how to relate to his players, the Eagles are going to be in good hands. It's a good start before we actually see him on game days. And we're going to jump all over him for press conferences. I think we could give him some praise for what players have said about him so far. Miles Sanders the other day talked about how Nick Sirianni just went up to him and talked about his school alma mater. Or not school alma mater. What was it? What's it called? The school, not the school song, school motto. The school motto for where Miles Sanders went to high school. And he was like, man, how do you know that? Well, we looked it up because he gave a damn. And if players know you give a damn about them, guess what? They're going to play for you. So I'm crossing my fingers. They get off to a nice little start here, that they're running some practices. The players continue to praise the coaching staff. And sooner rather than later, we get to see these guys on the football field. It seems like whenever you see them just on the practice field for OTAs, it feels like it's just around the corner. Can't wait for everything to get underway with the Philadelphia Eagles.